How can you transform your improvised TTRPG campaign into a published adventure or sourcebook?
Right, so basically you can't, so bye. The reason adventure modules usually suck is because they lack the agility that an improvised session tends to have. So if you're a more improvisational games master, your games will tend to be better than those that slavishly follow a module, in my not so humble opinion. But if you're determined to do that, you need to try and capture what really worked during the campaign as you were playing it, and then turning that into a module. So if it's a high prep game, then you've probably done a lot of the work already in creating the monsters and calculating out the encounters and so on. You might need to replace any specific plot hooks with more general plot hooks that might fit other characters, rather than the ones that you crafted the module for. And you'll need to have kept notes, like legible notes of what happened during the game, things that worked, things that didn't. And then you can take all those notes and bring them together, and you can turn it into something. But again, modules, it's hard to make them work. Usually they're quite railroady. They're the least well-selling of any project you can do for any kind of game, at least traditionally. With 5th edition, people seem to be a bit more willing to buy modules. Maybe GMs today are just lazier, I don't know. But yeah, copious notes. Keep everything that you produce for the game. Notes need to not just be copious, but you need to structure them, and while it's all still fresh in your head about what went right in the session. And odds are, if you're playing with your friends, you're not going to want to sit down immediately after the game and write the notes. You might want to sink a couple of drinks, finish off the pizza, go to bed. You don't want to necessarily do the work. But from a sort of higher point of view, I guess, you can look back in retrospect and decide, what happened best with the game, what worked, what didn't, and rewrite the whole basic scenario idea, having had that experience, I guess. Having run for streaming games like Tabletopless, those tend to be more high prep. They're a little bit more scripted. You might write more material for them, which makes them a bit easier to turn into modules or gazetteers, information sheets, that sort of thing. So that might be a bit easier. So if you play streamed games, that sort of thing, you might find that your notes are more useful. But I think there's too much of a divide between improvisational GMing on the one hand, the experience of play where you've just got a few elements that you bring together, and modules. I think there's too much difference between the two for the skills to really be fully transmissible from one to the other. So I guess I'd say don't. Maybe just use the same ideas, but approach them afresh if you want to write it as a module.